This is across the board. Find this in the emotional space, the academic challenges, even just requesting accommodations can be difficult. I've often talked with students about it as a pass they can then choose to use in individual classes. And if they're new to that, they're surprised. In other spaces, especially K through 12. I think it's applied a little more broadly than in an IEP situation. Certainly there's some specifics, but in the college space, I think having students understand that this is something that is a process that they can go through. We like to see that application process into the disability or the service office around these areas to be one that tries to reduce that stigma, making it easier for students. Getting that process started in the event that you need it and not feeling like you need it in every single class. You might, but that's really your choice. Yeah. Jean, I know, again, we've had these conversations with the students you work with at Salem University. Just can you talk a bit about the shift between, it doesn't have to be every class, or it can be certain classes where the disability or the struggle might be more pronounced? What's your experience with that?
Oh, completely. I have a student I was working with last semester where one classroom was just very loud, very overstimulating. It was a big class. And so they wanted to get that quiet testing option. And it worked really well from them. But they felt really weird about it because they're a junior and they've never needed it before. And so they were feeling that they had to deal with a lot of this internalized ableism around, I should be able to do this if I haven't needed it in the past. Am I being lazy? And it didn't help that the professor made some not particularly supportive comments implying that this student wasn't showing sufficient grit. And that really made it a lot harder for them to accept that, no, this is a very reasonable accommodation for the types of neurological differences that they possess. I also think it's important. I loved all of the different examples that were thrown out for the good things. I always love this, looking at models of disability not as a deficit. And so that was a great thing to start us off. But the fact that so many people immediately start thinking of, oh, you have to have creativity, you have to have resilience and that problem solving. Why? And the reason is because the world is set up in such a hostile way to people with disabilities that they are forced to be able to do that. And not everyone is able to, especially with someone who has a neurological condition that maybe makes it even more of a challenge. Those people often get left behind because of these extra barriers that are put into place, even just to be able to access accommodations. So I think it's always good for us to keep in mind whatever we can do to make it easier and safer and more welcoming for students to get what they need to succeed, so that they can have an experience more like what the able student gets just automatically. That's the better.